Hey everyone, and welcome to RUBIN'S Mind Lab, where we break down the latest research into what it really means. Ever wonder why sometimes you and your friend just seem to move in sync when you talk, but with a stranger it feels different? Well, this new study dives deep into that exact question. This research looked at how our bodies move together when we chat, and they found something really cool. It's not just one kind of synchrony, or moving together. It's actually a few different ways our bodies align, and these ways change depending on whether you're talking to a friend or a stranger. So, what did they do? They gathered a ton of conversations. We're talking 387 of them. Some were between friends, and some were between people who had never met before. They used some fancy computer magic called Markerless pose estimation to track every little movement of the people in the videos. Think of it like giving a computer a superhero vision to see and record exactly how bodies are positioned and moving frame by frame. After all that data, they identified three main ways people move together. First, there is motion quantity synchrony. This is basically when people move around the same amount at the same time. If one person starts moving more, the other person tends to move more too. Then there is something they call pseudo-synchrony. This one is a bit mind-bending. It's when people who aren't even talking to each other still end up moving in similar ways. It's like they're dancing to the same silent rhythm, even when they're in different rooms or different conversations. And the third type is directional synchrony. This is when people move the same body parts in the same direction at the same time. Like both people might tilt their heads to the left, or both might move their hands forward. Now, what causes all this synchronized movement? They found four main reasons. One is turn-taking. You know how when you're about to speak, you might make a gesture, or when you finish speaking, you might relax your body. This natural back and forth of talking seems to make us move together. Entrainment is another factor. This is like following a shared script or social habit. Think about greeting someone with a handshake or a nod. These shared actions can make people move similarly, even if they just met. Conservation of motion is about keeping things balanced. If one person is moving a lot, the other might consciously or unconsciously move less to keep the overall energy of the conversation steady. It's like a negotiation of movement. And finally, station keeping. This is about maintaining personal space and eye contact. If someone leans in too close, the other person might lean back slightly to keep a comfortable distance. This is about maintaining a sort of social equilibrium. So, here is the big reveal. All these forms and reasons for moving together are different for friends and strangers. When you're with a friend, the synchrony is strong and pretty simple. It's like you and your friend are one big system moving together almost automatically. They call this co-enaction. It's smooth and effortless. But with strangers, it's more complicated. It's like a dance of navigating social rules and expectations. They call this regulation. You have to be more mindful of personal space, of taking turns politely, of not being too over the top. Let's look at motion quantity synchrony more closely. With friends, there is a clear positive connection. If one moves, the other tends to move too, right away. But with strangers, it's different. There is a small positive boost at the very beginning, but then for a long time the synchrony becomes negative. This means when one stranger moves more, the other tends to move less. It is like they're trying not to step on each other's toes, keeping a bit of distance in their movement. What about that strange pseudo-synchrony? The one between people not interacting. They found it's actually stronger for strangers than for friends. This suggests that when strangers are meeting, they might be more tuned into general social norms and scripts, like shaking hands, which can create this outward synchrony. Friends, on the other hand, have a more established connection, so they don't need to rely as much on these external cues. And directional synchrony, the coordinated movement of body parts. It was strong in strangers, with different patterns for horizontal, vertical, and depth movements. But for friends, it was almost non-existent. This really highlights how strangers are actively managing their interaction through body movements, while friends are already on the same wavelength. Let's dive a bit deeper into those mechanisms. Entrainment explains the pseudo-synchrony because everyone is following similar conversation scripts. For example, they notice strangers often shake hands at the beginning, and this common action leads to similar movements across different stranger pairs. Turn-taking is a big one for both friends and strangers, but it looks different. For friends, motion increases right around the time of speaking turn changes. For strangers, there is a decrease in motion before they start talking, then a bigger spike when they speak, and the transition out of speaking happens earlier. This suggests strangers might be more actively signaling their intention to speak or to yield the floor. They even did a simulation. They tried to recreate the synchrony just using turn-taking. For friends, this simulation worked really well, but for strangers, it didn't quite capture the full picture. This is where conservation of motion and station keeping come in for strangers. Conservation of motion means strangers keep their shared movement more constant. If one moves a lot, the other pulls back. Station keeping explains why strangers move certain body parts together, like keeping their heads aligned to manage distance and eye contact. They found that strangers had much less variation in their interpersonal distance compared to friends, suggesting they were actively working to maintain a consistent space. So, what's the big takeaway? Body motion synchrony isn't just one thing. It's a complex set of behaviors that change based on your relationship. Friends engage in a more seamless, almost unconscious co-enaction. Moving as a unified system, strangers, on the other hand, are in a mode of regulation, carefully navigating social norms to ensure a smooth interaction. This research highlights how dynamic and multifaceted body language is in conversation. It is not just about expressing yourself, but about co-creating the social interaction itself. A limitation of this study is that all conversations happen in a lab setting, seated and recorded. This might not fully capture the way we move in more dynamic, everyday situations. Also, cultural differences in personal space could affect these findings. What's next? Future research could look at how these synchrony patterns change as friends get closer or strangers become more comfortable. It would also be fascinating to see how these patterns vary across different cultures and in different social contexts beyond the lab. This study really opens up our understanding of what it means to be in sync with someone. It shows that synchrony isn't just about liking someone more, but about the very different ways we manage and participate in conversations depending on the nature of our relationship. It's a reminder that so much of our communication happens not just through words, but through the silent language of our bodies. If you found this as fascinating as I did, please give this video a thumbs up, leave a comment below sharing your thoughts, and subscribe to RUBIN'S Mind Lab for more dives into the amazing world of psychology and science. We'll see you next time.